Hey, it's been a little while, so bear with me. Give me a few minutes to get warmed up here. Uh, if you didn't realize I was human before today, uh, hopefully you'll still like me after. So this past month, we had to adjust the schedule for me getting on here because there was a death in the family. So I had to go up to Washington State and be up there for a while. It was well, I mentioned in my very first talk that the last time I was up there, God told me not to plan a return trip. And that one, that bothered me then because I've been going up. When I first moved, I've been going up there every 3 years. Or no, once, 3 times every year. And then twice a year. And then kind of scaled it back to once a year, and that was tough enough. And it'd been a little over 3 years, 3 years and 2 months, I think, since I've been up there last. uh, I changed a lot since I was last up there. I didn't know what to expect, and I kept making things bigger in my head than they needed to be, than they ended up being. Uh, and it was shaking me up for probably at least a week or two before this trip. And I ended up getting a rain on it for a while. Got up there and we flew into Seattle on one side of the state because that's where the memorial was going to be, a little suburb of Seattle. And my uncle was the MC of the whole thing, kind of just giving a rough overview of life. And then he asked me a few days before going up there if I'd get up at the end and say the Lord's Prayer. He said that there was a minister there that had that all these people knew, and he asked this guy to get up and open the whole thing in prayer. And my uncle, none of my family, especially on my dad's side, are religious. Some are a little spiritual, but not religious at all. So my uncle was talking about how it's just these preachers. Sometimes they get in front of an audience and then just don't shut up, and I just don't want that to happen. I'm just asking him to say a prayer and that's it, and sit down. That's all I want from him. I was like, well, all right, yeah, I can do that. I'll just get up there and say what you asked me to say. And if I feel like having anything else, we'll call it good. So of course, we get up there and this minister gets up to open the whole thing in prayer, and it takes him like 10 minutes. And I see my uncle up there just living the nightmare. And this dude's just talking about everything, and he keeps bringing in my grandma that died, and it just somehow his son serving in the war is tied into this whole thing. It's like, dude, go away, sit down. And then after my uncle gave a summary of my grandma's life, he gave all these people a chance to just get up and say a fond memory. And one of my aunts was she thought it would be good if I would say something. So I was like, yeah, I guess. All right, I can do that. No one quite sure what to say, what to cover, because I don't know how many of these people were even like religious at all. So, I mean, there's probably 15 minutes or so of people just getting up and sharing good memories about my grandma, and then people stopped getting up, and then my uncle asked me to come up there, and I was asking God about saying something. I couldn't tell up from down. It was just, I don't know what was going on, but I was like, "Ah, I got this. I got this. It's cool. It's cool. It's cool. It's cool. It's cool." Then I get up there and I'm standing in front of all these people, and then all of a sudden, God's like nowhere. And then I start trying to talk anyway. I just got all these shaky voice. I said, "Oh, what am I doing?" And I finally struggled through that and started on the Lord's Prayer, and like 80% of these people knew it. Felt like I was getting blasted out by the crowd that was, just like, because I was leading it and everybody was saying it with me, That was unexpected, for sure. But I was up there, ended up being up there for 10 days, seeing family and just catching up with people that I hadn't seen. And it was like every once in a while, I could just see inside myself, like my heart getting harder. And it was like just being a spectator. I didn't know, it didn't seem like there was anything I could do about it at the time. There was always something going on. I just kind of, whenever we go up there, I just turn on the afterburners and go like a mile a minute for a week and a half. And then I need a vacation, some time off when I get home just to recover. But it's like I could see it happen, and I just didn't know what to do. And I saw it happen several times. And it was just, I'd just be watching it inside of myself, just seeing that, just feeling helpless. Not that there wasn't anything I couldn't, not that I couldn't have done anything. It's just that I didn't, well, I was up there to spend time with family. And then I come back, and usually, me and God just have a little recap of the trip, just to help me put everything in perspective, what I did right, what I did wrong, things that could have happened differently. I mean, just like an evaluation of me on the trip. Because there's a lot of Christians up there, but they're mostly just religious. I ended up we stayed with some friends that I went to high school with, that I've known since, like, the wife I'd known since kindergarten, the husband I'd known since second grade. So we go back a ways. Ended up staying with them the last weekend, and they took us to the airport to fly back down here. And then they talked us into going to church with them. And that was, I don't know what to expect. Oh, yeah. It was like, I don't even know God nearly as well as I could. And even with the minuscule amount that I do know, it was still, what they were trying to do was just a drop in the bucket of God's presence. Like, there was just, it was all routine. They had it all timed out perfect. And it was just, dude, I can just look around and see people wanting their life in order and not knowing how to get it. Like, people just empty, hurting, hopeless, directionless. The kind of people you'd want in church, the kind of people God's looking for, reaching out to, that the church is not giving spiritual sustenance to. And then I started listening to the pastor. It was one of those they have two different campuses of this church, and I guess this weekend the pastor was at the other campus, so they just broadcast him to Brad. And it was like he had no problem just bull rushing his way into the heart of topics. Like he was talking about marriage that time, and he just plowed his way through walls that people were trying to put up and everything. I mean, he just went straight to the epicenter of topics that people just don't want to cover. And he gets there, and he has nothing really to offer except just head knowledge. It's like, what good, really? What long-term transformative good are we trying to do to these people, for these people, with these people, in these people? If all you're going to do is just tell them what you learned from somebody else that wasn't God, there's like, it just seemed like, you ever been to a hospital, just get a shot and watch the nurses put the oxygen, like push it out of the syringe first before they inject you. That's so an air bubble doesn't get to your heart and kill you. And it seemed like this pastor was not doing that. Like he was just mainlining garbage, not getting rid of the bad stuff, not even really having anything. It was just depressing. And then I get home. I don't have time for a recap with God because I got this good friend of mine that's his anniversary is this week. We got back last week, and we were going to do some work on one of the bathrooms in this house. So like we land, get home, I lay down for like an hour, and then I start tearing apart the bathroom because he's coming over the next day, and I was just going nonstop. I just didn't make time for God because I had to do this, and I had to do this, and I had to do this. Ended up, despite however I might come across, most of the time I'm just like a little kid trying to hold God's hand and go where he's going. And it's like this last week, I just let go of his hand. Not sure where I ended up. But ended up finding out that I'm not as permanently changed as I would have liked. May as well be honest at my expense instead of anybody else's, huh? And dude, let's see. Yeah, I couldn't even really hear God much for the last week or so, and that one hurts. And then things were going down at work. Stuff was happening, and God, help me out with this. I got high standards for myself at work and for people I work around that have to adhere to the same standard. I got no problem vocalizing the same expectations on them. That's actually got me in trouble too many times. And almost again yesterday. But I just don't like getting crapped on by other people at work that are just watching out for themselves and not doing anything to help anybody else. And I'm vocal about that. I don't like being passive aggressive because that just seems cowardly. And that's what gets me in trouble at work. Good old corporate environments, huh? But I've just been getting too far into my head at work, letting things bother me that haven't even happened yet. And then finally, because I've just been listening to the Gospels still listening to John again and again and again. Tried listening to Matthew yesterday just to see if any of that would actually penetrate my skull like it used to, instead of just bouncing off because I was too deep and too self-involved with my own thoughts. And it didn't. And I was driving to work this morning. I said, dude, what can I change? I'm tired of sucking as bad as I have. What do I need to adjust? And then I said, oh, I'll try listening to 1 John. He talks about love enough. So I did. Sure enough, if any man says he loves God and hates his brother, he's a liar. Shut up, John. All that black and white. Surely there's room for some kind of gray area in there. Shut up, John. I want to be right somewhere. I want to feel vindicated. I wasn't. Hard to argue with the Bible unless you just want to be proud. Man. Then finally, I just, you listen to, you get your headphones in for like 6 hours. I think it takes 22 minutes to get through the book of 1 John as Johnny Cash reads. And you get through it a few times. And finally, I was just minding my own business, just complaining to God about how much this chick at work sucks. And then finally, God just interrupts me out of nowhere. I'm so busy trying to brood and magnify worthless stuff. Finally, he's like, that has absolutely nothing to do with me. Her work ethic has nothing to do with me. What she does at work has nothing to do with me. Why are you letting it impact your representation of me to her? That was a gut check. Not the first thing I wanted to hear after a hiatus from God, but I'll take it. And I knew I was flirting with the line of walking that tightrope, falling off and getting into pride, getting into being wrong, justifying myself. I knew I was walking that line, but I know what to do exactly. Did my best to not do anything. Quit talking, quit doing much. Just went to work and tried to mind my business, come home and mind my business, and just do my best to just stop any kind of anything that could be misconstrued as progress as far as personal development. That always seems like the safest thing to do when I don't know what I'm doing. I'm still getting back into it. For a long time, I could just go back and forth with God, not have to write things down. Not that it's bad to write down those conversations with God. I did that for a long time when I couldn't hear him as well. When I would lose focus easier, that just helped me stay concentrated. In concentration, whatever. And I had to go back to doing that because I would just start trying to talk to God and be like, I got to do this and this and this and this on the bathroom. And I don't want to go to work tomorrow because I hate working with this person and that person. I'll be glad when that person finally leaves and that person sucks. I don't want to see them ever again. Also, any of you that have never had thoughts like that, feel free to cast the first stone, as Jesus would say. Yeah. There's a reason Jesus told the Pharisees at least twice that God desires mercy over sacrifice. So, let's all be careful how quick we are to correct somebody. It's just, looking at it now, well, even before I left full Washington State, God told me that, 'cause ever since I moved here, man, there's always been, hmm, God help me out with this. There's always been, sometimes they're harder than others. All right. Like around the holidays, you just, you just miss family. It's been, it'll be 10 years. Keep hoping. Keep hoping it'll get easier next year. Easier next year. He told me before this trip, that things were going to be different afterwards. I didn't know what that meant. Well, obviously, you can take it at face value. Let's not be, let's not be that stupid. But I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how things were going to change. I didn't know what exactly was going to change. I know every year, it seems like everything puts a big spin on the importance of family around the holidays. And if I ever accidentally come across the part in the Gospels where Jesus says, Anybody that puts his hand on the plow and looks back, always ask him about that. And that is, usually, all right, I'm back now. Usually, if you're going to eat a brick of cheese, you cut it up into slices. And that's something that God has really helped me do, helped me learn how to keep mastering that. And look at this difficult principle, this hard concept with him, and then he just kind of comes alongside us and, well, hey, look at this layer, look at this layer, look at this layer. We're going to break it down. And then you get to the other side of it, things will be cool. And then he puts his hand in the plow and looks back, isn't worthy of me. I'd come to that and be like, God, how do we break this down? He's like, we don't. This is it. And that's just, that is a reality check every single time. Not that I was wrong or in sin or anything like that. So much as just, this is where you are. This is where you need to be. You're not there yet. Don't kid yourself. And it's like there wasn't much for a transition period. And that was one thing that God told me was going to change. And I remember the last time we were up there, it wasn't until we were at the airport in the plane taxiing out to the runway to take off and fly back down here. I was looking outside at the mountains, all the evergreen trees. And that was when God told me not to plan a return trip. So I was bracing for that again this time. We got to the airport. I said, all right, God, we're going to be playing hide and seek. I'm ready for you this time. Got on the plane. All right, God, where are you? And nothing. But God forbid any of you guys think I've arrived yet. I've just had enough practice of putting stuff into words and dealing with enough of the basics to have something to say. And, when God gave me that gut check today, asking me why, how, well, when I was losing my temper with this chick at work, what that had to do with him, I've been thinking about that all day. You can read the Gospels and be like, well, Jesus didn't lose his temper except with the religious people. All right. That's where I'm trying to get to. Obviously, I ain't there yet. And if any of you guys know when to flip out and when to be cool, and you can consistently 100% exercise that in your daily life while having a real job outside of a ministry job where you let me know. I'll take some pro tips if you got them. Yeah, I think that's I guess that's it for now. I'll have more next time. I'll be a little more collected next time. I hope. So, hope this helped somebody. Peace.